Today's contribution to my channel is about a tragic night in 1981 when my husband was killed as we were walking across the highway. And I'm also going to recite a poem I wrote and dedicated to friends of mine that remain friends during the last 44 years. My name is Mimi. I'm also known as Lori, and my channel is Mimi on the Move. I welcome you back if you've been here before, and I'd like to welcome you if it's your first time here. Please read the About description of this channel, as it is really dedicated for several different people. The most important ones to me are my precious granddaughters, Daisy Ray and Poppy. And then it's also dedicated to children who are still children, or now maybe they're young adults or adults who were not permitted to be with their grandparents during their formative years for circumstances beyond anybody's control except their parents. And it's also for grandparents like myself who had no reason to be removed from the lives of their precious grandchildren. So without further ado, let me talk about the tragic night, reflections of that tragic night. 44 years ago today, my husband Randy and I were crossing the highway at Cassidy Inn on Vancouver Island. It was a dark and very rainy night when a GTO came around the corner at highway speed, and back then that would have been about 60 or 70 miles per hour, which I believe translates to 80 to 90 kilometers an hour, something like that. It's fast. Okay, let's just say that. I realized through the rain, it was like it was a monsoon rain, and it was pitch black and there was no lights on the highway, and we were dressed in black, both of us. I had very long blonde hair at the time. I took a fast step forward to avoid being struck. It literally happened in a millisecond. But my husband did not react at the same time, and he was one step behind me because I stepped one step forward. It all happened so fast, I just believe he didn't have time to get out of the way. He was killed on impact. The details of that moment are too horrific for me to share here on the YouTube channel. This is the first time I'm talking about it publicly. And interestingly enough, most people that were in my life then and up to date, so from age 27 to now 71, never really asked me any details of that moment. But yet, many seem to talk about it over the years as if they were there. I've never understood that because nobody's really ever asked me. I believe they didn't ask me because of the horrific nature of that crash, but I'll never really know for sure. But anyway, some history of my husband and I. We knew each other our entire lives. We were even at each other's birthday parties when we were toddlers. Our parents were friends in their teens and remained friends over the years. I've never remarried, and I continue to miss Randy. That fateful night changed mine and my children's lives forever, especially my son, as he was just 9 years old enough to almost understand. My daughter, not so much. She was 2 and didn't really understand. She didn't really know. Even though Randy was a stepdad to my son, he loved my son as if he was born to him. My daughter was just 2 years old, like I said, and never knew her dad because he actually wasn't around that much during the first 2 years of her life. She paid the price of his absence many years later when she became an adult. And with not having a father to raise her, it seemed like she was seeking out people to possibly fill that void. Okay, I can leave it like that. As for me, I knew I could never have a meaningful relationship again with a man. I just couldn't bear that loss again, or even risk having that type of loss again. Lord knows I tried, but failed miserably each time. It just seems I never had enough energy at the end of my work day and the day with the kids and their activities and whatnot to put into any kind of a personal relationship with a partner. Eventually, I isolated myself. Probably it was more on me than them, but who knows, right? But I did isolate myself from my married friends. It didn't seem like we had a lot to share anymore. And I had little, or maybe I would be more accurate to say I had no support from any family members. That's just the way it was back then. I focused on being both parents to my kids, which in hindsight made me unable to give 100% of being a mother, and certainly not 100% of being a father. They were lucky if they got 50% of each from me. And that's just the way it was. There was nothing I could do about it. I didn't know that at the time, of course. I thought I was doing all this, super parenting stuff. And in hindsight, I realized that, I came up short. Again, for a lot of different reasons, but I came up short. I did the best I could, but that was it. With the people that weren't there for us, that it's too bad they weren't, but they weren't. I found it was easier for them to forget about us as they carried on with their own lives. They had families to raise and jobs to go to and all of that. So yeah, it seemed easier for them to just be in touch once in a while. And that seemed okay with me because I really didn't have time to worry about it in those days. But there was one lady, Randy's paternal step-grandmother, very affectionately known as Gram to all of us. She was the only person who was consistent in the way that she cared about us, and she never held back showing that she loved us. Gram was a very special lady, and we loved her deeply. I'll go into more of this story maybe at another time, but I just wanted to share for the first time my feelings after 44 years of being a widow. I just wanted to share this moment. And if you're out there and you've had this kind of thing in your life, that kind of a tragic accident or any kind of a tragic accident or being forgotten about by family and friends, for the greater part, maybe this will resonate with you and you'll know you're not alone, right? I'm pretty sure I'm not alone, but I actually haven't met anybody that relates to me this way. So yeah, that's the way it goes. But in reflections of moments in my life, I think of these few people who did not abandon me and did not abandon their caring for my children in their own special ways, and I'm proud to call them my friend. I'm going to read to you now a promise I wrote for my true friends. I Promise You by Lori, aka Mimi Lockhart. I hope you never know my pain or walk inside my shoes. But if you do, I promise now to be right here for you. I hope you never have to crawl or slip between the cracks. But if you do, I promise now to always have your back. I hope you never cry unheard or scream until you're blue. But if you do, I promise now, I'll still be here for you. I hope you never feel despair so deep it cripples you. But if you do, I promise now, our friendship will stay true. Love now and always, your friend, Lori, aka Mimi. Until next time, I hope everybody stays well, is happy, and looks forward to a beautiful future.